Hello! So today I wanted to do a little talk about sex and gender because I feel like there is somewhat of a lack of understanding. So yesterday was the announcement that Trump made about transgender military people. Basically transgender people can't be in the military anymore in America. I don't know exactly when it's coming into force. It's fucking stupid if you ask me, but it's not the topic of this video. I would need to do more research into all of the different stuff. I made some notes. So first of all, just on a sort of definition kind of front, the two words, sex and gender, they often get sort of interchanged, but they do mean different things. They do have different actual definitions. Sex is your physical, biological anatomy, and then gender is like social norms, beliefs, feelings, things like that, which I think often gets confused, and I think that's why some of the lack of understanding is there. So sex is, you know, your biology, your hormones and chromosomes and your, you know, penis. I want to focus more on sort of the gender stuff. So yeah, gender is not a sort of black and white thing in the same kind of way. It's not as scientific. In fact, I don't really think it's very scientific at all. It's very much a social construct, to use sociology terminology from the A level that didn't really get me anywhere. But yeah, it's a social construct, which basically means that it's specific and dependent on the society that it exists in the same way as a lot of other things. For example, teenagehood as a sort of stage or a concept didn't really exist until the last century. Anyway, so the gender roles in terms of like, you've got your sort of traditional like male of being masculine and macho and the rest of it, and your sort of feminine role of sort of doing the staying at home thing and yeah. But that comes from a time where it was more sort of needed, to use that word, and I don't really like the fact I'm using that word. I feel like other people may not like the fact that I've used that word, but back in the olden times of when we were more of a hunter-gatherer species of, you know, hunting and gathering vegetables and fruits, it was more needed because the men were biologically much bigger and stronger, and so they were the hunters, and then the women were the child bearers. So rather than have them out hunting while pregnant and all of the issues that could potentially cause, they stayed at home and they did a much safer job in terms of gathering together crops and things like that. And that meant that the women and children weren't put at risk, and, you know, it worked for that society. That division of labour is one of the reasons that scientists believe that we survived and Neanderthals didn't. So fun fact for you there, that sort of tradition remained consistent through a lot of history since that time of being hunter-gatherers, but we don't live in a hunter-gatherer society. You know, we built up this society where those gender roles are pretty much redundant now. Like, there's no real reason for men to have one sort of role in that sense and women to have a different one. Another sort of like interesting fun fact thing, high heels were originally for men. I guess this kind of comes into the like social construct thing, like in that society at the time, high heels were for men, and it was a masculine thing, and it was all to do with horseback soldiers. Soldiers on horseback? The soldiers on horseback, and it allowed them to balance better while riding the horse and using bow and arrow. And so, yeah, that was a male thing. Then in the 1630s, the European women, the rebels that they were, they decided that they wanted to wear high heels and smoke from pipes and have cut hair in order to appear more masculine. And yeah, about 100 years later, the men all stopped wearing high heels. And then it disappeared, actually. About 50 years after that, it disappeared, sort of towards the end of the 18th century. But it just goes to show that sort of idea of gender being a social construct, and the fact that high heels were completely masculine for, you know, centuries, and then wasn't anymore. So in terms of like psychology trying to understand and explain gender as a concept, and like where it comes from, why it's the way it is, how it ties to sex, things like that. There are lots of theories, and I would recommend reading about them because they're all really interesting, and I don't think I can do justice to explain them now, and it's been a little while since I've studied any of them in great depth. Some of them include gender schema theory, which is quite interesting. I mean, it's quite interesting, like schema theory as a general thing in terms of psychology. It's almost like a word association kind of thing, but with everything. So you take that kind of word association game, like I'd say YouTube, and you'd say, well, whatever. But it takes it up to that like entire brain level and all information that you process. There's also things like hormonal influence on the sort of sex influence side, and like how hormones influence like gender perception, things like that. There's the idea of the gendered brain, which is also quite interesting, but it's kind of like that, the sort of criticism of that is sort of cause and effect, like, because the idea of the gendered brain is the fact that men's brains are more geared towards like problem solving, things like that, and women's more towards compassion and empathy, things like that. I don't know how much evidence there is, I don't know how like proven or anything it is, like it's, as I say, it's a theory. But also the thing is then, is it a case of because socially men are pushed down the problem solving route because they're men and that's sort of the social norm, or has been in the past, does that then lead to the brain developing in that way, in the same way with women and compassion and empathy, or is it the other way around? So that's quite an interesting theory. You also have things like parental and social influence, which I think is a huge part of it. You know, the influence both consciously and subconsciously that the people in the society around you have. So whether that's down to parents sort of buying certain toys or certain clothing or whatever for their kids, whether it's then their peers like positively or negatively reinforcing different behaviours, like different games, boys playing with dolls, girls playing, you know, rugby, whatever it happens to be, you know, whether that's met with a positive or negative response, as well as also things like the media and how the media portrays men and women and the sort of stereotypes and things like that. If you want a couple of case studies that are really interesting, the Reimer twins, R-E-I-M-E-R, basically there were two boys who were born. One had an accident during circumcision, which resulted in the loss of his penis, and so the parents opted to raise the child as a girl. But yeah, very interesting case study. And also the Batista family, I can't remember exactly, but it's an interesting one with them because they're born, they would technically I think be classed as intersex, which obviously is a whole other area which I'm not incredibly familiar with in terms of knowledge, that's why I haven't really mentioned it too much, but obviously intersex people do exist as well. But yeah, their penises aren't fully developed, and so they're raised as girls in this tribe, but then when they hit puberty they do then develop and switch to male. But yeah, again, interesting case study to read about. Obviously sort of related to all of this and coming back to the Donald Trump thing as well, obviously you get transgender people where there is a mismatch between who the person is and who the person is biologically, if that makes sense. I probably explained that really badly. I may well talk about this again. I have a feeling it's probably going to be a topic that I keep coming back to because it's something that I think is really important. It doesn't personally affect me. I was born a guy, you know, I feel like a guy. I'm a bit on the feminine side. I don't really think that all of the gender norms apply to me. I'm certainly not the most masculine. And I do think in terms of some of the sort of modern, like nowadays, sort of gender things, like a lot of it's bullshit, a lot of it is just tradition for tradition's sake. It doesn't really make any sense. Like, you know, in terms of interests, clothing, just things that boys or girls are allowed or not allowed to do. And especially I think one of the things that probably has affected me more in this sense is sort of the idea that women are supposed to be the emotional ones and men aren't, and sort of like the man up culture. And I think that's probably the one aspect of it that's probably affected me the most, but I just sort of say fuck you to the gender norm and I'm emotional anyway. I don't think I could not be really with the way that my brain is, but I hope this has been interesting, and I hope that I've been able to clear up one or two misconceptions or things. And like, I hope that I'm able to sort of prod you in the direction of some of the theories or some of the case studies surrounding the topic that are really interesting in psychology as well. Like, I didn't take it further after my A-levels, but I do have an interest in it. Yeah, that's all for this one. There'll be a new gaming video on my other channel on Sunday, and a new video coming up on Tuesday on this channel. I can barely see the camera right now. I will catch you next week. The problem is it's like 5 to 2 and I could definitely fall asleep right now. But instead I've got to edit this video.